On this episode, we travel back to Victorian England to experience an incredibly unique version of one of the most classic Christmas stories of all time. We watch The Muppet Christmas Carol, and you're listening to Geeked Out.
Popcorn in our hands, ready for the show. From the classics to the blockbusters, we're always in the know. Throwing references like confetti, we keep it real. Geeked Out Podcast, we make you feel. We're the critics you can trust.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Geeked Out. My name is Kyle,
And I'm Juan.
and we are doing our second episode in our month of December for our holiday movies. And unfortunately, with the way
Yep.
the schedule is lining up, this is going to be our last for this month because our recording schedule would have us recording on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and so we're going to take a little break following this before we move into our next section. Just wanted to kind of say that right off the bat. But as you heard in the intro there, we watched what I consider to be an absolute classic and one of my favorite Christmas movies to watch every year, Muppet Christmas Carol. Juan, this was your suggestion or your pick for us to watch. So,
Yes.
what's your history with this movie to begin with?
Uh, Definitely one of those VHS tapes that we just always had, that I always remember we had, that I always watched around Christmas time, you know. I can say it's my intro to uh, the Christmas Carol lore or the movie. Um, but it's definitely one of my favorite of all the renditions, all the many renditions that we've had over the years.
There's a
Um,
lot.
if I had like a top three, this would be one of them. I think my favorite is the original, the one in like black and white. Um,
The Alistair Black from the 50s.
yeah, sure. I don't know the name of that, man.
Sorry, Alistair.
Black and the
Alistair
black and white
Sim.
one. That's how I refer to it. And then the I really liked the one with Sir Patrick Stewart. That was pretty good too.
You know what? I don't know if I've ever actually seen the one with the Patrick Stewart one.
It's not bad. There's another one in the '90s, but
Yeah, they seem to like. I don't think they have too recently, except for the Spirited that they did a few years ago was more of a modern day telling. But there are so many different versions of this movie, of this story, I should say. Um, I this might have been my introduction to this story,
mm, good.
and
That's good.
I
Interesting.
mean, I was the same way. We had this when I was a kid. I've always been a big fan of the Muppets.
Same,
Um, I love this one.
same.
I love Muppet Treasure Island. I love this movie, and yeah, it's been a staple for me at least for as long as I can remember. I watch it every year at least once. Now,
Yeah, it's one of the movies I have obviously we all have a Rolodex of movies that we watch during the season,
mhm.
but during the actual Christmas day, it's one of the movies I make sure it's on. It's one.
I wouldn't say that this is one of my Christmas Day ones, and I only say that because normally Christmas Day I kind of leave for movies that I've seen and I like, but I don't that I'm just okay if they're on in the background. I feel that whenever I watch this movie, I want to be like focused, paying attention to it because, and I don't know
Mhm.
why. I just there's something about it that has always resonated with me, and I've always loved.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so when you so in terms of the Muppet characters in general, do you have a favorite personally, or did you as a kid?
Yeah, it's a well, as a kid, it definitely it was tied, and it's kind of still is, I guess. But I'm always a fan of Animal.
That
Um,
was my brother's favorite growing up.
Just because I love the drums. I play the drums, so it's just naturally a natural connection there. But honestly, it's those two, it's those two old heckling ass puppets, bro. Muppets, man. Was Statler and
Statler and Waldorf,
Waldorf.
yeah.
Even as a kid, I just loved them. I just loved how they were just all they did was roast. All they did was heckle, and it was
So
good. It'd make you laugh, even as as a kid. It's just but you didn't really get a lot of what they were saying. Some of it, flew over your head, but what they were saying was funny because everyone was laughing, and it did seem like it was funny, even though you didn't really know fully understand. But
yeah,
as an adult, you not only do you understand what they're saying, it just adds to how much funny it was. You know what I mean? It just adds to it. And yeah, man, I think they now are solidified as my favorite Muppets. Those two old ass heckling ass
yeah.
men, man.
I always found those guys funny. I don't know what it was, but when I was a kid, my favorite was always Fozzie,
Fozzy's
A-
cool.
and for simple reasons that there will be random times that I will like kind of imitate this character, but the Swedish Chef,
I don't, man, I hate that motherfucker, man.
he's always
I just don't like. I don't like what he be. I don't like the
dude.
noises he makes.
There will be times
I
when
just don't like it.
I will be doing something completely random, and all of a sudden in my head I'm going.
I don't like that shit. I don't know why. Because
Neither do I. It
I'll
just
make
makes
those
me
noises
laugh.
sometimes. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that, man. It's just, fuck, man. Out of all of them, I think he annoys me the most.
It annoys you the most.
I just don't like, I don't like the noises that he makes, man.
See, and
He seems,
oddly,
oh man, I don't even want to get into it, but I just don't like
oddly enough, my biggest annoyance in terms of a character is Miss Piggy in the with the Muppets.
it. Really? I like Miss Piggy.
Yep, she's always kind of irritated
She's,
me.
yeah, because they always, she's always at an 11. She's always too much. She
Yeah,
just dialed it back a little bit. She'd be a much more tolerable character.
I
But
mean, I
that's not
will
how she
say I
is.
know
She's
that
a loud. She's loud.
in this movie she's like obviously now the Muppets are playing themselves except for Rizzo the Rat,
I
but
love Rizzo the Rat.
I actually like Miss Piggy in this movie playing um, Bob Cratchit's wife.
Yeah, she was. It was a good performance for
But
sure.
when like I don't remember when this movie came out, obviously, because this came out when we were just little kids. But this had to have been, I assume this had to have been a very risky and bold undertaking because if you look at like the Muppets are historically just like jokes, like they're just straight comedy and silly. And A Christmas Carol is such a revered and respected story of literature that to do it with the Muppets, I have a feeling that it would have been just almost balked at. Like, what are you doing? But I like, in my opinion, as I say, I love this movie. I really think they pulled it off.
Yeah, and it wasn't. It might have been a risk, but not really, just because there've been so many retellings of the story already. Plus, the Muppets had so much clout with the Muppet Show, and just just being in the zeitgeist. And that I wouldn't say they're at the height of the popularity in the 90s, but they were very, very popular. So I don't know how people felt when the news came out that this movie was happening, but I'm going to assume that there was belief that it could be pulled off because of the Muppet brand is behind it.
I mean, that makes sense. Now,
But I
obviously,
don't know. I don't know.
like in my opinion, the main reason, and I'm sure we're going to get into this as we talk about it, but the main reason this movie works for me as well as it does is because you have the very clear juxtaposition of the goofy silliness of the Muppets on one end, and then you have Michael Caine playing Scrooge, and he's the only real human, well, not the only, but the main human who interacts with these Muppets through this whole movie, and he's playing it like he's in some Shakespearean drama. Like he takes it so seriously, and
Yeah,
I feel that that juxtaposition and the way that he plays it is the reason that this movie works. Had he tried to be silly to kind of bring himself to the Muppets level, I think it wouldn't have worked at all, and it would have just been a joke.
yeah, and it definitely fits into, this world that they set up for Scrooge, because there are versions of Scrooge where he's a little bit more dark and a little bit more Scrooge like. But for what they did here, I think, yeah, it was great, and they picked the perfect actor to, to balance the element of the Muppets,
Yeah.
because yeah, he's acting like this is like he's acting like these aren't Muppets, like these are actual humans that he's interacting with. And yeah, man, it definitely works, and he pulls it off great.
And I do, and I like. I mean, I'm like obviously we're going to talk about the movie, but I do like certain moments when his intensity is reacted by the Muppet characters as like, and they do a joke. Like for example, when you get the scene when Cratchit, played by Kermit, is asking for more coal to be put on the fire because him and the other bookkeepers, who are all rats, are freezing, and he yells at them. He basically says like, "Oh, how would you like to be?" And then he just goes, "Unemployed." And all the rats all of a sudden are in Hawaiian t-shirts, and they go, "Heat wave," and they start singing "Islands in the Sun." Like it's such an intense difference in, one is so serious, the other is just like I say, silly, goofy comedy, and for some reason it really works. They played really well off of one another.
Yeah, they they somehow was able to find that balance, and it would only work if your main lead was able to find that balance between those two. And yeah, they pull it off great, man. It yeah, it was really great.
Now, as we before we actually get into the movie, I'm going to give you the kind of details, the nuts and bolts and whatnot. So this movie was released December 11th of 1992, obviously right in time for Christmas. It had a $12 million budget, and it brought in a worldwide box office of 33 million. So not huge, but I mean they got a return that was, they didn't lose
Respectable, very
a ton of
respectable.
money.
Hmm.
Currently, it sits at 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb. The critics' tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes has it at 78%, and the audience popcorn meter is at 86%. So clearly, it was a movie that was enjoyed by the critics and clearly is loved by a lot of fans around the world. It was directed by Brian Henson, the son of Jim Henson, who this movie is dedicated to as he had passed away. It was written by Jerry Jewell, based on the novel by Charles Dickens. And it's starring, and I didn't even put the actors' names, I just put starring Michael Caine, Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy,
Yeah,
Fozzie Bear, Gonzo, Rizzo the Rat, and all the other Muppets.
and
And
I'm
the
pretty sure they
plot,
did that. Oh, sorry. Go
no, I was just saying the plot is basically the Muppets' take on the classic Dickens Christmas story, A Christmas Carol.
ahead. Hmm. Yeah, I
If you
appreciate
know,
that.
you know.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. And the opening credits that they did put it, I guess the voice actors were okay with it, but I do respect that they allowed the characters to be credited instead of the voice actors. That was a nice little touch.
Well, and I think a lot of it too is a lot of the voice actors do five, six, seven different voices. So like,
That's true. That's true.
and the thing is, like, for example, if you like Kermit the Frog, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't know who voiced Kermit the Frog if I didn't look it up, but everybody knows who Kermit the Frog is.
But it's also, yeah, and if you are familiar with voice actor, and you have a keen ear, you can start to hear that flavor in a lot of different characters. Um, but yeah, especially with the Muppets. Yeah,
Yeah, and that was the reason that I had written down the characters like Kermit, Miss Piggy, and that because that's who people know. So I'm not just gonna like.
Fonzie.
I'm not trying to be. I don't want. I'm not being disrespectful to the voice actors. Kudos to them. All the respect to them because without them, these characters wouldn't exist in our hearts the way that they do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's their performance that brings these characters to life, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like I say, it's a pretty standard telling of a Christmas Carol. I mean, you have Ebenezer Scrooge, the miserable moneylender who hates Christmas. He is going to be he's haunted, I should say. In this movie, he's haunted by his business partners, played by Statler and Waldorf.
My
Whereas
boys.
in the original, it's just Jacob Marley, and in this one, it's
Yeah,
the Marleys. Which actually, Marley and Marley, the song that they do, is probably when I was a
it's my
kid, and
favorite.
probably still now is
It's
my favorite of the movie.
it's my favorite. It hits
I
it hits the hardest out of all of them. Besides like the ending, the end song.
I do have to say, I was I was kind of surprised when you suggested this because I know you and I have talked in the past, and I know you are not a fan of musicals.
So it just depends, man. It depends. Some get a pass. You know what I mean? Like Wizard of Oz gets a pass. Charlie
Now,
and the
does this get
Chocolate
a pass because it's a Christmas movie and you grew up with it, or because it's the Muppets, or maybe a little of both?
It's probably a little bit of both, more leaning more on the Muppets.
See, because I'm the type I've always been a fan of musicals for the most part. I mean, there are some that I don't like, but I,
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed musicals. Um, so this and then for me, Christmas is my favorite time of the year. So this movie checks those two boxes right off the bat, and it's the Muppets. Like, there's no way that I would have disliked this movie.
No, and it's another risky thing that they added on top of it is they added we're gonna throw because traditionally it's not a musical like every other rendition of this movie or this story told in through a movie. It's played straight. There's no it's not a musical element into it. So adding that on top of that plus the Muppets, it was a risky move.
And I don't
And
think there was another musical version of this until they made Spirited in 2022 with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. Another movie that I am a big fan of. That one is more musical in terms of more blatant, broad comedy than this. But so the beginning of this movie, before we ever see anything, we see that this movie is dedicated to the memories of Jim Henson and Richard Hunt. Jim Henson, obviously the guy who created the Muppets, and Richard Hunt was a member of the cast for many years.
oh, okay, so you're the cat. Oh,
No, not a cat.
that's cool.
One of the things that I also really enjoy about this movie, and it allows other Muppets who aren't in the regular, like in the main cast of the film that we know and love, to be in it because they put Gonzo playing quote unquote Charles Dickens and
Oh man,
Rizzo the Rat as just himself.
that is genius.
I thought it
Whoever
was
added
great.
that, I thought it was genius. Adding those two as, the person, yeah, like the Charles Dickens and the rat, like that pairing, having them like follow us throughout the movie and breaking the fourth role and telling us what's happening, and them just going through their antics and the way they just played off each other is just comedic genius. And it's one of my favorite elements of the movie.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, and I like the fact that through the movie, Gonzo, because he's supposed to be playing Charles Dickens, he keeps saying all these things that are happening, even though him and Rizzo might be down on the street and Scrooge is inside of his house, and Rizzo keeps going, "How do you know all this?" And he goes, "Because I'm Charles Dickens, and writers are omniscient because they write the story." And then it'll be something like he says, like he lit the lamps inside the house, and all of a sudden one of his windows, you see a light come on. And he goes, "How did you do that?" I thought that was a really good addition to the movie because, like you say, it especially because this is a kids movie, like it was made as kind of a bit of a kiddie version. It gives you something to follow, like when you're younger. And I fell in love with it as a kid. I thought it was hilarious, and even now as an adult, I probably like it even more.
Yeah, and it definitely helps with some of the more. It helps with them being there with their comedic antics, especially when we go into some of the scarier parts of this
Yeah,
movie.
and
You know,
this movie. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just, you're good.
Well, I was gonna say just the very beginning of this movie, as we're going through the credits, you just get a wide shot moving across the roofs of these houses, and you see the chimneys and the old time architecture and construction of the houses. And before you even see a person, a human being, a Muppet, anybody, you feel like you are in Victorian era England. And even when you see the Muppets and the humans, they're all interacting um, basically seamlessly with one another as if they're all just the same and this is just the world. Like there's no, we see a difference because we don't live like that, obviously, but they act as if it's just their normal world.
Yeah, it it sets the tone at the beginning, sweeping through that sweeping shot, going through the London and seeing the townspeople and the Muppets, and like I said, it sets the tone of this vibrant, lived-in world where humans and Muppets coexist. And yeah, I think it was pretty cool, and I appreciate how they structured the opening.
Yeah, and even and then on top of that, you go from that, and everything is bright. The sun is out. All these brightly vibrant colors, and then
Yeah,
you get Scrooge coming around the corner. And I never noticed this, but the minute that he enters the frame, almost all of the color is gone. Everything is dark. It looks as if a giant storm cloud has passed over, and there's no sun, there's no light. It's almost like in Harry Potter when the Dementors come and there's no happiness, and everything is just dark and depressing. And we go into the song Scrooge, which I think is fantastic because through the song you get all the exposition to explain exactly what this character is.
yeah, yeah. It was a really good way to do that. Tuck in that exposition in a very lovely tune.
I love that. So I mean, I'm a
They're
big
pretty
fan
good.
of most of the songs in this movie.
Yeah, the thing is, all the songs are great.
They're
The thing
catchy.
is, The thing is, they're catchy, but not to a point where there's
they're not a distraction. I think. I think
no,
they
not at
fit
all.
the tone of the movie and the vibe of the movie very well.
Absolutely. And within the context of the film, it's great. But outside of it, and like the zeitgeist of just popular Christmas songs from movies, it's not none of these songs are as talked about as much, which is
No, and
unfortunate.
it's and they're all original songs. It's not like they're using Silent Night or White Christmas or any of the Christmas carols that we all know and listen
Like
to every year.
you wouldn't hear some of these songs on like the Christmas radio station or
But
something. You know what I
I
mean?
would argue that you could or you should maybe because
Maybe
they're
that's not what
great
I'm saying. You should.
songs.
You should. You just don't. Which sucks because I think some of them do belong in in some of the classic Christmas songs that you hear. You
Yeah,
just don't. And I had to be reminded of these songs during my rewatch because I just you forget about them because they're not really shown anywhere else.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, Scrooge gets to his office. We get to see Kermit as Bob Cratchit, and they have it set up just like they have in any other version of a Christmas Carol I've ever seen, where you've got Cratchit in the front part of the office, and then Scrooge in the back in his, I guess, his private office, whatever. But you you can tell that he loves what he does, despite the fact that what he does is,
Isn't very nice.
yeah, he it's basically like he's a money lender. So people can't pay their bills. He evicts them from their homes. He does all these different things and basically kind of, I guess, ruins them. But he also keeps saying, like, the famous thing that he says is humbug. And he
Oh, he
does it
was spamming the
every,
hell out of that within the first 5 minutes.
but he doesn't say it like you all. I always think when I was a kid, when I would think of that term, I would always envision the character almost yelling it. And he just kind of says it as like, almost an aside. Like, he just kind of says, like, oh, humbug. Like, it's not where, and he even says when they ask, oh, like, can we have the day off tomorrow because it's Christmas Day? And he says, that's a poor excuse to pick a man's pocket every December 25th because he doesn't view it as like as an important day, as a holiday. He just, all he's concerned about is his money and making it and keeping it. And that's it. I mean, even later when he goes home, Gonzo, as Dickens again, says that Scrooge doesn't light the lamps in his home because darkness is cheap and he likes it.
That's great.
So he's not even just stingy and whatnot when he's working. He's like that in his life. So
That's what I'm saying.
it's not even like he's taking this massive wealth that he's accumulated and being frivolous with it. He literally just goes home from work, has a little bit to eat, and goes to bed. Like, it's just
He
an
doesn't,
amassing of money, and it doesn't do anything with it.
yeah, he doesn't allow himself to reap the benefits of his own success. He only cares about money, but
Yeah,
not
there's no
spending it,
joy.
not having any of the luxuries that you should have if you are a very successful man, as he is. This motherfucker wasn't even eating like meat or anything because you have to cook that shit. So he was just eating cheese and
And meat would be expensive to buy. So yeah, he's eating bread and slices of cheese.
I was like, damn, bruh, spend a couple dollars on some fucking ham or something, dude.
And I noticed,
God damn, that's bad. I
I don't
felt
know if
bad
you
for him.
notice this, but even when you don't see a lot of his house, you just kind of mainly see him in his sitting chair in front of the fire. But if you notice, even around the room, obviously there was no television, but he doesn't even have books to entertain him because again, they cost money, and he probably doesn't. He probably views it as frivolous to spend money on entertainment of that sort, so he just doesn't do it. So they
Yeah,
really paint him as a character that has a very lonely existence, and yet because he's amassing money every day, it's a life that he's okay with and actually
yeah.
seems to enjoy.
He's almost has an, an on the spectrum like focus on just saving.
Yeah, and he won't give anything. I mean, his nephew comes in the office and, oh, you should come for Christmas, and oh, I don't celebrate that. And guys come looking for charitable donations. He won't give anything, and even his nephew donates, and he says to him like, "You can't. You're dirt poor, and you're donating." And then he says to him, because he says, "Oh, come to dinner with me and Claire," and he goes, "Why did you ever get married?" And he just says, "Because I fall in love. I fell in love." And even at the word love, he says humbug again. Like, and I
Hmm.
mean, we'll find out later why that is in terms of that, but I don't even, it's just it seems like such a miserable existence.
Oh yeah, they definitely paint that picture very well to letting the audience know how lonely this man's life is and how it has affected him and turned his heart very cold. And just the way that he Michael Caine his acting it adds to that. It just makes
He
you
he's he's phenomenal
believe in him.
from minute one of this movie. And then his partner, Bob Cratchit, Kermit the Frog, he seems like, even though he is poor and he has, I think it's like four kids at home, and they can barely afford anything. He just seems like he's so happy, especially that it's Christmas and that he knows he's going to go home to his family to dinner around the table with him and his wife and his kids, and he doesn't have nearly what Scrooge has in terms of financial wealth, but this movie and this story paints the picture that rich rich people, or sorry, richness isn't just how much money you have in your bank, and that you can be rich in many other ways in terms of love and happiness and people around you.
Oh, absolutely. And by the end of this movie, you definitely you understand that very message.
And the way that Scrooge is shown that message begins here when he's at home in his chair. He's confronted by, again, in the original, it's just Jacob, but in this movie, he's confronted by the ghosts of his former partners, where they,
Immediately start roasting his ass. They immediately start heckling.
well,
As
that's
soon as
what they
they,
do.
soon as their ghostly their appearance is shown, they start roasting his ass. That's why I love these two motherfuckers, man. They don't change. They just say they are who they are, and they are some roasting ass motherfuckers, and I love it. I
And what's
love it.
funny is, in any other version I've seen of this, when you see Jacob Marley, or he talks to Scrooge about, like, this is the chain I forged in life, and he seems remorseful about it. Like, I should have
Hmm.
done better. I could have done better, and I'm coming here to you to tell you that you're still alive. You can do better when I couldn't. Meanwhile, these two, they keep bringing up all the stuff they did, and they're laughing about it, and they're having a good time, and they still tell him what's going to happen, but you never get the sense of them being like, "Yeah, we wish we could have done this. We wish we could have made things different." No, they loved, because one of the things they laugh about the hardest is when they foreclosed on an orphanage, and all the orphan children were standing in the snow crying, and they start laughing.
Yeah, and they, yeah, they never change. It's fucking hilarious. And usually with the other, um, adaptations of this in other movies, that character, that's but usually a singular character, he's super remorseful. It's
And these two, no chance. No, they're
no,
like, yeah, we did it and we're
not
proud of it.
not at all. Not at all. And it just worked, and I love it. I love it how they respected the personality of those characters, and they committed, and it
Yeah, because
worked.
had
It
had
worked.
those
It
two
worked. It
been
worked. It
remorseful,
worked.
it almost wouldn't have worked. And they tell
Not
him
for
that
those
he
characters. Not
no
for those characters. If it was different, sure, but not those two in particular.
no, and they tell him that he will be visited by three spirits, and they're going to show him things that will kind of maybe change his perspective. And the first of which being
Oh my
the
God.
one of the creepiest things.
That is the most. I forgot. I forgot how creepy this
It's
fucking thing was. It terrified
terrifying.
me. I'm a grown. I'm a
Like it's
grown man,
it's literally a
and that
floating
thing is
face
scary.
and like surrounded by wisping cloth, and
Ah, and it's
it's
ah,
terrifying.
and it's a tiny little scary. It looks like a movie that I refuse to watch because it just the look of it scares me. It looks like one of those creatures from the Dark Crystal. It kind of has
Okay,
a dark.
yeah,
Oh my God. And it just that look terrified me. Putting it as a little ghost puppet form. Oh my
and,
God. Oh
and they
Jesus,
give it
what are you doing? That was
and
the worst decision they would have could have ever made.
the voice is like a high pitched little girl. Like
It
it
doesn't
is.
it only adds to the creepiness, the voice
To me it
and
is the big downside of this movie is that having it like that. It's one of the biggest negatives that I found,
the
and I
only
felt that way
one
since
of
I
the
was a kid.
there's very few things they didn't nail in this movie, and this is one of them. This is one of the top of the list things that they did not
Yeah.
nail.
And I mean, her
Ah,
as the ghost of Christmas past, obviously she's going to bring him and show him what it was like for him growing up. And we see
yes.
him growing up in his school. And even then, as a kid, he even then didn't like Christmas. His friends are running by him going, "Oh, we're going to go outside. We're going to go play." And he says, "No, I'm going to stay
Nah,
here and do my work."
I want to play with
And
this old school Victorian calculator thing.
the abacus.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and it shows several years go by. And I do love the fact that his headmaster is Sam the Eagle or Sam Eagle, whatever it is,
That
and
fucking scene was hilarious.
it's one of my
That scene
favorite.
was hilarious.
He has one of my favorite lines in the movie, and it's when
I
he's
didn't I forgot that I forgot about it. Like I
well,
didn't realize that it was a movie.
but
That shit was funny.
it's because he says to him like, "Oh, you're going to be graduating, and you have this apprenticeship at such and such, and you're going to be studying business and all this other stuff." He says, "It is the American way." And all of a sudden, Gonzo whispers in his ear and he goes, "Oh,
Hey, hey, hey.
it is the British way."
And then like the way he looking, like he don't know what's going on. He's like, "Oh shit, did I messed up? What's happening?" It's the
It's
way
one thing I've always been impressed with
it's
the
so funny.
Muppets, even though they're even though they're just the fact that they're puppets, and yet they're able to convey emotion, and you can tell that they're like having deeper thoughts just by like what they're doing, and that's a real credit to the puppeteers who do the like move them around and are controlling them.
Oh yeah, that's just that's the Jim Henson Company, man. They've been in the business since the 70s. They know what they're doing, and their experience is just shown throughout this movie on how well they're able to disconnect your brain and to think like you obviously they're puppets, they're being controlled by people, but they're so good at becoming these identities, these
Yep.
characters that you don't there's a disconnect. You don't bel- you forget about it.
Yeah, when I watch the Muppets on TV, whether it be this, the Muppet Show, any movies or whatever, or other things that Jim Henson has done, such as things like Yoda and that, I am not I'm not looking at it thinking that's a puppet. I'm looking at it as if that's an actual character. Like there
Exactly.
is there is you don't think like your brain doesn't connect while you're watching it if it's done well, which these always are.
Hmm.
And we go from
Though
there. We
there was a moment where Kermit, I don't forget where he was, but he was just walking around, and
when you see his legs and feet,
not his legs and feet, but when his mouth is moving, you could tell like that's a person's hand
yeah,
that's doing certain that kind of, because I'm an adult. As a kid, I wouldn't have noticed that. As an
I
adult,
I
that
will
just
say there is a scene when he's later in the
there's a
movie
couple
where
scenes
Kermit
that
is
was
standing
good.
like in the middle of the road and they show him full body, head to toe.
Yeah,
I It is always very odd when you see a Muppet, like when you see their feet and their legs, because you're so used to them being framed kind of from the waist up, because obviously the puppeteers are below that.
yeah.
So anytime that they're shown full body, I'm always kind of weirded out a
It's
little
always
bit. That's when I really remember that they're puppets.
yeah. It's always awkward when they do that. You know, I mean, maybe now with updated technology, it wouldn't feel so awkward, but back then, yeah, it kind of was a little strange
Yeah,
seeing those moments where you see their full body or you see them running or something and seeing their legs not, or at least not in a frame where you could tell they're obviously being blocked by the person working them.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, he's still with the creepy ghost of Christmas past.
Ah,
They go from his school to him working at Fozziwig's rubber chicken factory.
oh,
Of
jeez.
course, that's a Muppet joke, but obviously Fozziwig is Fozzie Bear, and it's funny because you see when he's younger, he hates Christmas. Then all of a sudden, you see Michael Caine, and he goes, he all of a sudden this smile, this look comes across his face, like this is the Fozziwig Christmas party. Like he looks like he has fond memories of it. So it's like he disliked Christmas as a kid. Then it almost seems like he started to kind of embrace it as a young adult. And then obviously something happened that soured him on it all over again. But even it looks like he has fond memories. When you see inside the party, everyone else is having a good time. And he's approaching Fozzie talking about how they're losing money throwing this party, and he's more concerned about the books, and Fozzie's going, just enjoy yourself, have a good time, it's Christmas, like let this stuff go for one day. And the only reason that he's willing to is because he sees, and I did not write her name down and it's going to drive me crazy.
Hmm. I
I
did
believe her name is
not
Belle.
write it down.
I believe her name is Belle. Yes, her name is
Yeah,
Belle.
that sounds about right. Yeah, yeah.
So he sees her and it's almost like love at first sight, and then that's really all we see. And then immediately you go to a few years later, and she's referencing that another Christmas has come and gone, and they still haven't had their wedding. And he keeps coming up with excuses. Oh, the investments aren't good. The timing's not right. We don't have enough savings. We And she finally basically says, like, I can't wait for you anymore, and leaves him, which kind of feels like the inciting incident that really makes him bitter, specifically towards this holiday. And that's when he just shuts himself off from the world and becomes what we know Scrooge to be.
Hmm. Yeah, they even though we didn't spend too much time exploring that the way they told it, and the way that it is acted. It was good. It was um it was well approached, and you definitely get believe that that would be a moment that this man would turn his heart cold.
Yeah, and even in the scenes that are only a couple minutes long, it gets across exactly what they want to get across. And for the viewer, it makes sense without much dialogue being needed.
Mhm.
Um, but it's one of the best parts of the movie because you no longer have to see this fucking hideous
Oh yeah, get that thing
floating
out.
face.
Get that thing out. Man, I was so happy because I know the next ghost, my favorite's coming. So out of all the Christmas ghosts,
Yeah, I think Christmas Present is probably most people's favorite.
yeah, out of all of them, like I would say statistically, rating all the other movies, Christmas Present's probably everyone's favorite for sure.
And he does, as soon as the guy starts, like Christmas Present starts talking to him, Michael Caine really seems to lighten up. Like he's smiling, he's laughing, and it seems like the way that the Ghost of Christmas Present is almost a little infectious and
Oh yeah,
immediately puts Scrooge in a good mood. I did find it a little strange that they played him, or they had that character kind of be, I guess, spacey might be the right word. Like he's constantly forgetting things. Like he tells him one thing, and then a minute later he tells him the same thing again, and it's like, and
I get
Scrooge is
it
like,
though.
yeah, yeah, you already told me. Like I,
I get it because he's the living embodiment of the present. He doesn't think about the past or the future or any of that. He is only in the moment, and that's just how his mind works.
now as his character progresses, I don't remember this being in any of the other versions, but they basically have him age as if
Yeah, I
he
did.
can only live that one day and then he dies. Like he starts at the beginning, he's young and he's got the bright red hair, and then all of a sudden, by the time he leaves Scrooge, he's white haired and he's
Yeah, he looks like
old,
Santa.
and it was a weird transition that I can't remember happening in any other versions of this movie. But
No, I don't think it's an element in any other movie either, but I appreciate it. It's like a deep layer that they didn't necessarily need to add at all, but I appreciate it.
yeah, I
It's
liked
pretty
it
deep.
too.
It's a deep little layer that they had there. Especially, there's a message there. It would go over your head if you're not paying attention or trying to look for it.
Yeah.
You know.
And the big things that he basically shows him is his nephew and his wife are at their Christmas dinner and they play a game where they're trying to. It's almost like a 20 questions type game, and his nephew says he's thinking of somebody, and they end up realizing that he's thinking of somebody who's unwanted, but it's not a rat, it's not a vermin, it's not a bug. It's and his wife goes, "Oh, I know, it's Ebenezer Scrooge." And
Mm.
for Scrooge to see that his own nephew is calling him something wretched and unwanted, I mean, it has to hit something.
Oh, of course, you could tell like he does have even at the beginning, you could tell he has some love for his family there, his nephew. So hearing that would definitely would cut deep. That is definitely a deep wound if you heard that, even if you're Scrooge himself.
Yeah. And the other thing we see in the present is Bob Cratchit and his family, of course, played by Kermit and Miss Piggy. And I found it kind of amusing that the daughters were pigs the sons were frogs. I'm glad that there was some delineation and it wasn't some kind of like
Mutant
hybrid like
fucking
the fucking donkey dragons in Shrek.
yeah.
I
That
mean,
would have been
though,
an easy little joke to throw in there. So I appreciate they didn't do that.
no, I think that family and that part of the story they tried to make rather serious, especially the whole Tiny Tim. And I mean, this little frog on the one crutch is heartbreaking to see. I mean, I know
Oh
it's a
God.
puppet, but good lord.
He's like the equivalent of those damn Sarah McLachlan commercials,
Yeah,
man. Soon the moment you see it, you're sad. Like your heart is just drops for this
and it
for this little frog.
especially knowing the story and knowing that in one version of the future he will die. It's like, oh,
This little baby frog, no, no. And he's so positive and so
he really
cheerful. Like,
is.
all right, man, if this fucking frog dies, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Save this motherfucker, Scrooge.
It's funny.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
almost it's almost like I don't care. I almost don't care what happens to anybody else. I just want you to be a better person, just so that Tiny Tim can live.
right. Do whatever you have to do. Save this little baby frog, man.
And I mean, again, that's really because again, this movie is not overly long, and
No,
it's only an hour and 25 minutes. And I think the main reason that is because it was geared towards kids mainly. So you only get a couple little things that the ghost show. And after that, the ghost of Christmas Present is basically gone. And then you get Mr. in every adaptation, it seems, Mr. Grim Reaper, Ghost of Christmas Future or Christmas Yet to Come, whatever you want to call it. And I do love that when he shows up, Gonzo and Rizzo look at the camera and they're like, yeah, we're too scared for this. We're going to leave and we'll come back for the finale. We'll see you guys later.
yeah, that's fucking hilarious. I get it, boys. I get it. It's fucking creepy.
And their antics through this whole movie, I think are fantastic. How they always seem to be on a window ledge and somebody comes and opens it and they get thrown off into the snow.
Right?
The one that always gets me is when they're Rizzo's climbing the gate outside of I think it's outside of
Oh yeah,
Scrooge's,
yeah. That's classic Muppets, man. That's classic Muppets.
and he jumps down
What are
and he
you
goes,
doing, man?
"Oh, I forgot something," and just walks through the bars to grab it and comes back. And Gonzo goes, "You could have fit through the bars this whole time," and he's like, "Yeah, why is that so strange?" And I believe Gonzo literally says like, "You're an idiot" or something like
Yeah. Oh
that.
yeah. He calls him an idiot. Carry on. She was funny.
Um, but yeah, the Ghost of Christmas Future, all he does is point. I mean, it's he
That's
points
all
and
he
it's
ever
the
does.
I know, and it's the ominous music from behind it. But the one scene you just hear these pig Muppets talking that somebody died, but they don't say who, and then you see these people selling the deceased person's belongings to I don't know if it's supposed to be like a pawnbroker or like I don't know what it is, but it's a spider, like just like the almost like framing it as like the lowest of the low scavengers.
Yeah. Pretty
And he said,
sketchy
and he
spider,
says
but
to the one woman has his sheets, and he goes, "These are still warm. Like, did you even like? How long did you even wait before you stripped the bedding?"
if it's still warm,
Yeah,
it's
that's
not long at all, man.
but and this is probably the most effective ghost because you see that. And then you see the Cratchit house again, and we see the hat and the cane sitting on the chair next to the fire, and it's obviously
Boy,
insinuated that Tiny Tim died.
boy.
And even when,
Nah, you didn't die. You was having a bath. You was having a bath,
yeah,
bro. Take a bath,
even
man. You don't need those things in the bath.
even when Kermit is coming back because he's gone to church, one of the one of his kids, I can't remember if it's one of the girls or the boy, they say that they're like, "Oh, Dad should be home soon," and one of the other ones is like, "Yeah, but he's walked a little slower these past few nights," and it just really hits like Tiny Tim was the one who would go with him. So now he's doing all these things on his own because I don't know why the family doesn't accompany him, but clearly his wife is making their meal and the kids are there trying to help. But so he's now doing all of this, and his existence outside of work, a lot of it outside of the family home, was with Tiny Tim, and now he's forced to do it alone. And it again, them being Muppets, this shouldn't work so well, but it just does.
Yeah, I agree. It again, it just solidifies how well they were able to strike that balance. And yeah, this is a shining example of that. Because it shouldn't, with this element of these puppets, you shouldn't get that type of emotion without, that layer of, you know,
And I mean,
believing that, accepting that these are puppets. But again, you don't think about that. You consider these characters as their own identities, these actual characters, and it just you are immersed into that scene, and all the emotion hits you pretty
yeah,
hard.
and I just yeah, I have to give props to Brian Henson, the director, and this is his first outing as a director, and I think stuff like this really show like he did a really good job framing and doing all of these scenes.
Yeah, I think this was a personal thing for him to get this story right and to really give it his all out of respect for his father, because he
Yeah.
passed away not too long from this movie being made. I think he did die. What was it like in the 19? Was it in the early 90s?
I'm actually gonna.
It was like 91, maybe even 92.
No, he died in 1990.
1990, okay. But still a couple years out. This movie probably it was probably a year, maybe a little bit after a year as he was making this. So he had that fire under him to deliver this movie and to really give it his all, and he does. It shows all that hard work and his passion and the respect for his father is all throughout this movie.
Yeah, and I need to make a little caveat. I apologize. I had said earlier that Jim Henson did Yoda. I was mistaken. He was
No, Frank
asked, but
Oz,
well, Frank Oz did the voice, but I
the
thought
voice.
The Jim Henson Company had made Yoda, but they didn't. It was Jim Henson who recommended Frank Oz for the voice, though.
Hmm.
But getting back to the movie, I don't know if this was the director or the editor, but after that, you see the Ghost of Christmas Future point the very famous scene where Scrooge sees his own grave and finds out that he's the one who had died, and he immediately drops to his knees and he's begging the ghost for like this isn't true, this can be changed, and he grasps his robes and kind of leans his face against it, and there's a cut to him doing the exact same thing an instantaneous cut of him doing the same thing with the bed sheet or the curtains around his four poster bed. So instantly you're back in like the present day in real time in Scrooge's bedroom. I don't know why, but I just love that cut so much. I feel like it's so effective that it's just instantaneous that this quote unquote dream or this experience is over and you are now back in reality. You've been given the tools to change the person you are and do things for good. And now it's your turn to go out and enact those things.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree.
And he goes, does he ever? I mean, I did have a question. So obviously this takes place in Victorian England a long time ago.
Yes.
He opens the window and he sees a little rabbit who's like a little boy, and he tells him that he wants him to take a sack of coins and go to a store and buy the big turkey in the window. I didn't look into this and I probably should have. That's my mistake. Would stores have been open on Christmas Day? I mean, you get a big thing earlier in the movie where Bob Cratchit's like, we shouldn't be working. It's Christmas.
Yeah, because he said all the businesses would be closed. You wouldn't have anyone to do business with.
Exactly.
Um,
Or is that
maybe
just
I don't
because of the
know.
movie? Like it needs, obviously, it's that gesture of
That's always
goodwill.
that's always been a thing. I think that's how the story pans out
Yeah, I know.
in every iteration. He's like buy a goose, it's like goose or some shit,
A
right?
goose or the turkey or whatever it is, because,
Yeah, but how? Like, where am I supposed to go? That that should have been added
and
in one of
I've
the
never
movies
questioned
where the
that
kid just suggests, I'm
until
like, where the fuck am
watching
I
it.
supposed to go?
I've never questioned it until watching it
I
this
never
time.
questioned it either. I never questioned it. Damn.
Because everybody else, like you see the guys who are collecting donations, they're just out on the street continuing to collect donations. So him being able to go up to them makes sense. Um, but him going to see his nephew, who is obviously in his home, makes sense. But to have somebody go to a store when earlier you're basically told that everything would be closed, I don't know how he accomplished this.
Right? Unless the only way, and it doesn't. Like people
I
have to
know he
live in
needed
the
to for the
store.
movie,
Like,
but
yeah, yeah. That's it. That's the only explanation. But it's an element of the original story, and they never questioned it then. So I guess why question it now? Even though, yeah, that's a pretty big hole there.
yeah, again, I don't know if I'm just being overly critical of this, but it never popped into my head
No, no,
until
that's a
this
fair
watch.
question. That's a fair question.
And of course, his whole final goal is he seems to be collecting these people. Like they all follow him like it's a freaking parade
Right? They even got in
to
Pied Piper.
the Cratchit house, and I love the joke that he plays on them because he's so happy go lucky and he's extremely joyful and thankful for everybody, and then all of a sudden they get to the door and he tells everybody like, no, back up so they don't see you. And he knocks on the door and he gets that real stern look back on his face and starts going, Cratchit, I'm here because you didn't show up to work this morning and yada 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 yada. And they open the door and Miss Piggy is about to just let him have it. And he goes on to be like, I can't abide by this. This is not acceptable. You missed work and I'm going to have to be forced to increase your salary. And she starts going off. And then all of a sudden she kind of stops and goes, what?
Yeah, that
and
reaction was pretty
and it's
funny.
clearly a joke and it's done in a way that they don't expect it coming because he just shows up miserable like that's what they expect because that's what they know him to be, but clearly he's a completely different person than he was just like 12, 13 hours previous.
Mhm. Yeah, no, yeah, that was good. And again, it's another element of the other renditions where he kind of does a similar thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and he just rushes the the day of house with uh, everybody, the
This
rest of the
tiny little
town.
house, and everybody piles in. And this turkey is still raw. They have to cook this thing for several hours before they can even sit down to
Mm,
eat.
that is true. That is true. Plus, make all the sides and stuff. Yeah, yeah, but they got some time to kill.
And apparently they have the whole town to help do it.
Yeah, they have a whole lot of people to prep that meal in
But
that tiny
I
little.
love when Gonzo takes over as the narrator and he's like, so they sat down for a meal and Scrooge was a different person and he goes, and Tiny Tim, who did
Yeah,
not die,
yeah,
as if to be
yeah.
like, don't worry, kids, no frogs were harmed in the making of this movie. And he goes
Yeah,
on to talk about how Scrooge became like a second father to him and like just reiterating how much he really changed his ways and became a really good person after this because of this experience that he went through.
yeah, absolutely. And it's followed up by a very touching song that just adds another layer to the emotion that they were able to pour out towards the end there.
Now,
Just
that song originally was there was an earlier song called "When Love Is Gone" that was cut from the movie, and it was a song sung by Belle. I think it's after she leaves Scrooge. So at the end of the movie, the song they sing "When Love Is Found" is supposed to be an answer to that song. I don't know why they cut the original one if they still use that one at the end because it. I mean, if you're really listening to the lyrics, it doesn't really make a ton of sense because it is kind of almost like a rebuttal or an answer to the previous song. So it's odd that they left that one in when they cut the original, like the one earlier in the movie that they had before when it first was done.
mhm.
But it says that they removed. Sorry, they moved the song because it was too sad for kids.
Damn.
But Tiny Tim dying isn't too sad.
I mean, maybe they could only add one too sad moment, and that was one of it, or a too sad song. They
I
couldn't have too many
guess.
too sad.
And I think the reason that they kind of would get away with it is at the end of the movie you hear them start singing, but I don't know if a lot of people are really listening to what is being said, like what the song is about. You're just more paying attention, like, oh, it's a happy ending. They lived happily ever after, and but I've always found like I heard that I don't know a few years ago, and I kind of went, I don't. I've watched this movie. I don't know how many. I don't think I've ever heard this "When Love Is Gone" song. But then when you hear the end, it's "When Love Is Found." So it's a really interesting thing that they cut one but left the other.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if they had to cut any song, I'm glad it was that one because I really like all of the other ones. But again, this I get that it was too sad, but you kind of need it if you're answering it at the end of the movie.
hmm.
But I mean,
No, I
that's
agree. I agree.
as I say, they all kind of they live happily ever after, as they seem to in most Disney productions.
Oh, absolutely. But and this one because this is a Christmas movie. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
you
you have to
always
have the sappy
you don't want to.
Christmas ending.
Yeah, and it just puts a better bow on it when it's when it's a happy ending than a somber one. And this typically isn't a somber ending in this one. So they you know they did went the traditional approach here. I was good. It was just obvious because this is a kids movie. So, but yeah, no, you definitely by the end of this movie, you definitely feel that emotion and you feel the heart that this movie conveys throughout the runtime of this film, man. You definitely feel like you want to be better or a better person,
Yeah,
which
and I
which is
will
great
say,
because that's the whole point of the movie in general is, look inward to
well,
be better.
and it really embodies the spirit of what I think Christmas is meant to be, and that's doing things for others and giving of yourself.
Hmm.
But I
I
mean,
agree.
that brings us to the end of the Muppet Christmas Carol. If there's, unless there's anything else you would like to talk about, I think we can probably move on to our final thoughts.
Nah, yeah, I'm good.
Okay, well, this was your pick. Why don't you take her away?
All right. Yeah, no, this is a great movie in my opinion. I one of my personal favorite Christmas movies. And arguably one of the best adaptations of the Charles Dickens classic. Um, yeah, this movie um strikes it's just almost a perfect balance between the the Muppet humor and the sincere heart of the original Victorian story. Um, it manages to be funny, a little meta, and very moving, uh, in which you don't really get with a lot of Muppet centered things. I appreciate that. Michael Caine is an amazing. Uh, performance is iconic and owns the role of Scrooge, even though there's been many, many people that have played the character. I think he's one of the more standouts, and it just adds to his level of professionalism by acting amongst people that are controlling puppets. Um, the music was awesome. Um, Paul Williams, the man behind that, and delivered some really great, catchy, some narratively driven songs, and they definitely hit the emotional notes that that he was aiming for. Gonzo Rizzo, one of the best combos, I think, in in movie history. I just love this. I love this pairing. I love this combo. They're just so funny. They work well together. The chemistry's great, and they're puppets, which is crazy. Um, the fact that they were added the way they were, which is genius. Um, overall, this is definitely a movie I would recommend. It's mandatory for every Christmas season. Um, This movie is funny for adults, kids, and I totally recommend it if you've never seen it. Especially now during the Christmas season. Give it a watch. I personally would give this movie 8.5 out of 10.
Well, I think you and I are pretty lockstep on everything. I couldn't agree more. I love this movie. It's an absolute staple for me to watch every holiday season, and it is easily in my top five, which I believe we've already done an episode on that, and it was in my top five. I think Brian Henson did a fantastic job as a first time director, and I mean, as always, I love the Muppets, so if they're in it, I'm willing to watch it. But to me, the best part of the movie, it has to be Michael Caine. As I said before, his earnestness and his seriousness and intensity that he plays this role, despite being surrounded by Muppets, is what really makes it work for me. And as you had said, the addition of Gonzo and Rizzo as the narrators I thought was really effective, and it also added even more comedy, which really worked. Yeah, I would highly recommend this movie, even if you think about things like the sets and the design of this movie, the costumes, everything. It's just so good and so brings so much life and character to the movie. I would recommend this to everyone, whether you've seen it or not. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend you watch it. And if you have seen it, watch it again. Watch it every year. Watch it every Christmas. Um, as I will. This will always be a staple for me every year. And I'm right there with you. I'm going to give this movie an 8.5 out of 10 as well.
Mhm.
Well, as I said in the beginning of the episode, we are going to be taking a little bit of a break for the rest of the holiday season. And we are going to be coming back in January. We had originally discussed on doing, as bad as this is going to sound, what I was going to coin as
Hey,
January.
yeah,
We were going to
that's all
do.
you. That's right.
That's
That's
all
all you.
me. I'll own it. But we were going to do a full month of Jim Carrey movies. However, recently, as many of you, if not all of you, know, Hollywood tragically lost a legendary member of the community and an actor as well as a director in Rob Reiner. So we've decided to do our first episode of the new year of 2026 to kind of in his memory, and we are going to do one of his most iconic and well-known directed movies, and we are going to do Stand by Me. Now, this is
Yep,
a movie I have never seen.
that's crazy.
I've been
That's
told
crazy.
about it, I don't know, for years, but I've never seen it, so I'm looking forward to.
Which is crazy because it's one of those movies that you always see. It's always playing on TV. It's one of those movies that, for some reason, was on like syndication amongst the TV networks because you could always catch it on a Sunday or a Saturday in the afternoon. For some reason, I know I've seen this movie many times just on a Sunday.
I mean, you're right. I've seen it many times that it's playing on TV, but I've never seen it. I don't even think I've seen clips of it. Like I've never even
Really?
no.
Oh my God. This movie has there's a few things that I wouldn't say quotes, but there's scenes that get referenced in many other uh like other TV shows and cartoons and stuff.
No, I
You'll recognize it. You'll see a lot of these scenes and be like, I've seen this before, and it's because they're paying homage to this movie.
I mean the only thing I've ever known about this movie is I know the four boys, and I know that something about they're going to look at a dead body and something about a
Hmm.
train. That's all I know.
Yeah,
So
those elements in the movie for sure.
I'm looking forward to watching this for the first time.
Bro, you got it's yeah, this is a great. This is like for a 90s kid, it was like a must watch. I'm
Well, I mean,
surprised you didn't see it, man.
it
Surprised
came
you didn't
out
catch
the
it.
it came out the year that I was born. So, but yeah, it was just
True.
it
It's just
was
I get it's just
never a
it's
thing that
figured.
that my group of friends or
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
circles that I hung around with. It was never a movie that anybody ever really watched, and I didn't really hear about it till I was probably a late teenager or an adult, and I just never went back to it.
You're gonna
So,
watch this movie and you're going to see if you watch this movie as a kid how it would have changed, or at least it would have imprinted on you in a very lasting way, like it did me.
well, I'm really looking forward to it. But as I said, that's going to bring us to an end of this episode. And as always, I'd like to ask all our listeners to rate and review. Um, and and share the podcast if there's anybody that you know who is into movies or into any of these specific movies that we've covered. Give it a share, and maybe you'll get them into listening to us and something that they might enjoy as well. So that being said, I also want to say to give us a follow on our socials, which as always will be posted in the show notes. And until next year, we'd like to say Merry Christmas to everybody, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. And take care, everybody.
Peace.